Hello and welcome to my eclectic life. My name is Charlene and I am here today because I think it's time. If you watched a video before this, I spoke about being on the carnivore diet, starting the carnivore diet, and a little bit of my health journey for the past few years. And today I just I feel really ready and compelled to share with you my journey. And I must admit that I have a very personal reason for this journey. And thus I am kind of dedicating this video to my mom. My mom passed away from diabetes, complications from diabetes a few years ago. And she ended up on dialysis and just did not have a good quality of life because of her diabetes. And if I knew today if I knew then what I knew now, things would be very different. Maybe. What could have been? So on that premise, I'm going to share with you all my story. So a couple of years ago, I decided that on January 2nd, I was going to be healthy because I was going down a road that was not going to end well. I have a medical background. I actually finished medical school in a foreign country, and so I am technically a doctor, and I came to the United States and then had a career path change and ended up being a Spanish teacher. I know. But I have kept up with my knowledge a lot, and there have been times when I've thought, what could have been? Well, there's not a better time than now that I am feeling just that pressure of what could have been, because this is probably what I could have done. I could have really been involved in preventive medicine and keeping people out of the hospital and away from pills as much as possible. Not that I don't believe in those things, because I do. I'm still an MD at heart, and I do believe in medicine, and I do believe in doctors, but boy, do we have a lot to learn, a lot to change in the medical system. Anyway, with all that said, and probably too much, I want to go and continue with my story. So in the January of 2023, I believe it was, I decided I was going to be healthy because I ended up in the hospital I had ended up in the hospital prior to that. But I ended up that January in the hospital due to a partial obstruction. That was completely new. And it happened after I had eaten a whole bunch of vegetables when I had a visit Christmas. And I ate a whole bunch of vegetables, and I ended up in the hospital afterwards thinking, not understanding why is this, because honestly I was thinking of going plant-based at the time. In fact, I must tell you right now, this is not a video against plants. I ate what was the typical healthy diet for a long time. I stayed away from processed foods. I stayed away from a lot, not all, but yes, from a lot of sugar. I ate a lot of plants, a lot of salads, a lot of greens, a lot of quinoa, a lot of all the things that were healthy, supposedly, to my body at that time. And yet I still ended up in the hospital. I still had so many issues, and I've written them down just so that I don't forget to mention what they each are, because I think that's super important. First of all, I had my gallbladder out years before that, and so I had a lot of issues with just my gut being adapted to that. And then I ended up in my late 30s just actually having a lot of gut issues, pain, hospitalizations for partial obstructions every 3 months for the last couple of years, reflux, diagnosed reflux, endoscopy, colonoscopies that never found anything but polyps, and maybe some scarring from the acid from when I had obstructions and had to have a tube down my nose. I had depression, although I didn't really let that get me down. I would be like depressed for one day and then get up and go, because that's my personality. I would allow myself a day, but still, it was sporadical, but it was depression. Low energy. Now I do have Hashimoto's, which also complicated matters because I have a thyroiditis disease that attacks my own thyroid. Hashimoto's, autoimmune disease. And I just kept feeling worse and worse. My medicine would go up to 250 micrograms and then down to 100 micrograms, and it seemed like they could just not get it together. And I have nodules in my thyroid that I have to keep on getting sonograms for as well, but they are benign. I had to have a hysterectomy due to fibromas, which when they took out my uterus, I had lost about 8 pounds back then because it was so full of these benign tumors. One of the big things is that I had these big rashes and welts sporadically on my face. My whole face would swell, my neck, and I'd get these welts usually from here up everywhere that I could not explain what was going on. I couldn't then, I can now. Carpal tunnel syndrome, not just when I had my hand under my arm when I was sleeping, but just constantly all the time when I wake up with tingling in my fingers, and just what you would typically say were carpal tunnel syndrome. Just a hyper reaction to everything. My body would just hyper react to the most minimal thing. Low libido, we won't talk too much about that. Night sweats, tinnitus and dizziness, just so many things. So in 2023 in January, I decided I was going to go keto or low carb, and I did that for 2 years. And let me tell you, with that I lost 45 pounds. I felt much better. The ketoses, my brain, oh, that's another thing, brain fog, forgetfulness like crazy. Also due to my Hashimoto's, I understand that, but now I know it can be avoided and it can be helped, especially when there's a history of Alzheimer's in my family. And so I decided I was going to go healthy. I went keto. I've been keto for the last 2 years, and that helped a lot. Don't get me wrong, that helped absolutely a lot. But it did not help with my rashes, my angioedema, where I would swell up for no reason, my gut issues especially. It did not help with those things as much as I thought it would. It helped in a lot of other areas, but not in those. So I stumbled across the carnivore diet. And again, before I went to keto, I was one of those people that was like, you gotta eat everything, you gotta be healthy, you can't not eat vegetables, and even with my medical background, oh no, and your cholesterol and this and that, and I was just not convinced. And then as I went to go carnivore even, I was like, you can't just eat meat. How is that going to be possible? I mean, I've always loved meat, don't get me wrong, but I can't just live off meat, and what is that going to do for me? But as I listened to some YouTubers that I really admire, and I will let you know who they are later, I came to the conclusion that I could do this, not that I could do it, that I needed to do this. So in about mid-December of 2024, before even, you know, all the festivities of Christmas and the food, I decided I would go carnivore. But I didn't go completely carnivore. I still had some vegetables, some kind of also, you know, like that pressure from the family, all eating different stuff, and well, okay, I'll have a Brussels sprout, or which I love, by the way, and I'll have this and that, but not completely. But I was eating more meat, and I did do good a lot of times in avoiding certain things. But I felt very judged. I felt very like I didn't want to say anything, and then when I would bring my own food to gatherings, and I felt very guilty about it. I just felt like and then when people would ask, well, why are you doing that, or how long are you going to do that, and different stuff, I felt very guilty. And when I would try to share the things that I had learned and why I was doing this elimination diet in order to see whether my gut really needed to heal, whether it was vegetables and those things causing the turmoil inside of me, which I later also found out was inflammation and due to metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance, which I had dealt with a lot of the insulin resistance during my keto, so I was aware of that, but I still obviously had a lot of inflammation. I thought, you know, Maybe I had sphincter of Oddi problems too, because I wouldn't eat that much fat even on keto, because it would bother my stomach. Little did I know that it just needed flushed out with more fat. The secret was to even eat more fat and meat. I know that now. Okay, and that's how I've been able to actually almost cure that. So I'm still dealing with the gut issues, in that I'm still getting my stomach. It's only been a month and a half, so I'm still getting because then in January I decided that I was going to do good. I was really going to go full, but then I have not yet eliminated spices. And so now my next step is to eliminate all spices but salt, to stay away from dairy, that actually bothers my stomach very much, except for kefir. I've learned to make kefir, and that seems to be good on my stomach. It's not bothering me because most of the lactose has been taken out, eaten out. But I really do, and then cheese. I adore cheese, but it bothers my stomach some. So I need to stay away from it for a while, or try raw cheese. I'm not saying that I will never eat vegetables again. I'm just saying that I'm not going to eat vegetables and fruits for now. I really have not missed them. I used to eat berries on keto. That's more of what I miss. And maybe I can eat them again someday if I want to. But I don't think I really need to. I'm doing great on the carnivore now. It's been a month and a half, and I can honestly and completely tell you that I am convinced. I am convinced. Not only am I scientifically and medically convinced of the benefits of carnivore, but I am also mentally and emotional convinced. And I am to the point where what matters is what my God thinks of me, what I think of me, what my husband thinks of me. And he is 90% on board. He still has not left all the things behind that I would wish for him to leave, but he's doing really, really better at it. And like he told me this morning, all people have to do is look at you and talk to you now, and to see the change. So he let me know that he is believing. Now I just have to keep things from coming into this house that will harm him and myself. But that's really hard to do. That's really hard to do, because you don't want to impose yourself on anybody. You don't want to. And please tell me if you can identify with this. It's so hard. Even though you're trying to do what you know is best for yourself and for your husband, and you try to give advice to people to let them know how good this is, and then they just kind of look at you like you're crazy, or they don't listen to you. They don't even say, hey, thanks for the advice or anything. You don't really want to impose, because you understand where they're coming from, because you were that person before. You were that person. And I thought I had a scientific medical background that I could justify my thoughts on why keto or carnivore were crazy, and why you had to eat vegetables and fruits to be healthy. But that's not true. That's not true for everybody. It is not true for everybody. And maybe you're one of those people. That's why I'm recording this today, because maybe you are one of those people for which that is not true. I'm going to quote Nick Norwitz. He is somebody that I watch. You should look him up on YouTube. And what he said. My God, well, let me quote what he says. At the end, you are N1, and your N1 life matters to you as an individual, and you choose not to eat fruit. If you choose not to eat fruit and you're super healthy, I'm happy for you. And if you choose to eat a ton of fruit and you are super happy and healthy, I'm also happy for you. We just want metabolic health to be mainstream. And I'm going to go further and add that what if keto, carnivore, or like in my case, both of those things are in your journey to health and just to lead the best life that you can lead. I'm 52 years old, by the way. 52. I wish I would have discovered this sooner. I have wasted a lot of my life not being as active as I could have been and as healthy as I could have been. I would try to find a picture and post it somewhere here. It's not about being obese. It wasn't about that. It was about not being healthy in all aspects of from my mind to my body. And I'm a believer. I believe in Christ, and I've always had Christ as my first and foremost. And so thank the Lord for that. Thank the Lord for that. Let's just leave it at that. What if carnivore just happens to be part of your journey? Or keto to get you started, at least. Okay, just what if getting rid of carbs in your life and the control that it has over your life would be the secret to your health? We've been lied to, and I could go on another video about this, about what is healthy. The focus has been on cholesterol and not at what it should have been, on your insulin resistance and metabolic health. This I understand because I have a scientific background. I don't fall into things just because they are popular or cliche or whatever. I do my due diligence and I investigate, and I have. And I'm going to suggest to you a few people that you could maybe follow and look up. Dr. Westman, wonderful. He was even relevant back then when Dr. Atkins, and we all thought Atkins was crazy. But Dr. Westman has a good, and he's a keto doctor. Dr. Tony Hampton, he's a carnivore, excellent suggestion. His videos usually are short and concise and to the point. Nutrition with Judy, wow, she is amazing. She's a holistic nutritionist that has a marvelous story about how she came out of depression and she went through veganism, vegetarianism, everything to try to heal her body and could not do it until she found carnivore. Nick Norwitz, which I already mentioned, he is the science behind. I love that he gives me what I need. He gives me the ammunition and the science that I need behind everything. Dr. Ovadia, if you're wondering about your heart, follow him in I Fix Hearts. That's one of his channels. He's a heart surgeon. He'll tell you the truth about cholesterol and about your heart health. In Steak and Butter Gal, Dr. Phil, he is a retired physician dealing with heart problems himself, who gives excellent, excellent advice. Rebecca Heischman, I've just discovered her lately and all her problems, her talks on oxalate, dumping, well, oxalates and how they affect our body from vegetables and just different things that affect micronutrients that you should really check out. You need to know the root cause of your problem. And most likely the root cause of why you're still feeling lousy, even though you're eating so well, supposedly, is probably because of your metabolic syndrome and your metabolic health and insulin resistance. Just look into it. Just look into it. I'm not everybody. If you know anybody around me, they'll tell you I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not of anybody to just jump on fads. I'm not anything like that. This is what's helping me, and I will take you along on my journey and tell you how my gut goes. But I can tell you now that just in a month and a half, my gut is probably 70 to 80% better than it was just at Christmas, even when I started this. My inflammation is amazing, but I have a confession to make. Last night I had half a cup of hot chocolate at a women's gathering, and it was with real milk, and I thought, okay, it's just a little bit, I can tolerate it. And I had a little bit of real dark 100% cacao chocolate melted into that, which I love. I love that. So I'm hoping to get back someday to be able to eat my dark chocolate. And I had no sugar in mine, and I boiled that and fixed it. And this morning I woke up with these red, my cheeks a little inflamed, and these red blotches. And in the middle of the night I could feel my hands, how heavy they were, and I could feel a little bit of inflammation in my body. Confession. So my goal now is my next steps are to eliminate all spices except salt. Yep. No more cheating, no plants, no hot chocolate, none at all, zero. So that then I can see little by little as I integrate certain things that I want to integrate back into my life, how they affect me. You'll never know if you don't eliminate them. You never know how they work. And meat, especially beef, is the only thing that really does nothing to my stomach. I even have to be careful with pork. I have to be careful with certain cuts of pork. And chicken, it also bothers my stomach some. So I have to be careful with those things. I love cheese. I love cheese. Love cheese. But I'm gonna have to cut it back, cut it right now too. And just go what they call really the lion diet, kind of, to see what is really still bothering my gut. I suspect it's the spices. I really, really do. As clean as they are. Now, while I've been on keto for the last 2 years, I have honestly not eaten very much processed foods, carbs, refined carbs, or anything like that. So I knew that my problem went deeper. And I'm getting to the root. I'm getting to the root of what's feeding my problem. So I just encourage you, please, if you know me already, you'll know that I'm really passionate about stuff. And I don't want that passion to get in the way of logic. I'm also very scientific about stuff. I do my due diligence, and I've done my due diligence. Will you do your due diligence now? Will you see if this is what you need? If you are having these problems, if you can't lose weight even though you're eating healthy, if you can't reduce your inflammation even though you're eating healthy and you're still getting bouts of inflammation, if you have autoimmune, this diet is so great for autoimmune diseases. If you are just feeling without energy and lousy, and you just need to check it out. Just check it out. Just reach out, and I would love to help you for free. I would love to just give you whatever knowledge I already have. And then you got to trust the process, and it takes time. So I hope that this video will, if you can identify with anything that I'm saying here, and this might have not been the most, I didn't have a teleprompter. This is all very basic. This is no aesthetics, no. I can tell you that I was losing my hair too, and now my hair is fuller and better than ever. My skin is better. I can tell you Carnivore has helped me in so many ways, that some of which we can't talk about here. Please just give it a try, give it a go. If you want to find real health. I'm not saying that you have to be against vegetables, then you can never have a vegetable again, or a fruit. I'm not saying that, but I can also tell you that you can live without them if you're the kind of person that can't live well with them. So let me know how I can help you. What if my mother, who died so young, could have been, what if this would have been the focus of her lifestyle? And she could have done like many type 2 diabetes people suffering from type 2 have done, and have basically eliminated their type 2 diabetes. But it was her time, I guess, and the Lord knows best. But just what if?